This last year has been debatably one of the worst years for any hip-hop fans. From Peep to X and now Mac Miller, where exactly does this leave us? I mean, when an artist passes away, there's a mixed emotion in many of us. What will happen to their team and families? Is this just a shitty hoax? I mean, this can't be real, right? What about the rest of their unreleased music and countless amount of hours put into it? In many cases, artists have a ton of unreleased music, and believe it or not, artists that are around long enough to think about death as a possibility have literal bank vaults filled with music, like Prince or Michael Jackson. But in a more unfortunate case with Peep, we're only left with a handful of years with him in the music industry. From Lil Peep Part 1 to Hellboy, it's clear that Peep's discography was not small, taking into account that those are only his mixtapes alone. His EP and single list goes on. But I wanted to focus on something more official, Come Over When You're Sober. On August 15, 2017, Come Over When You're Sober was released. Peep left us with only a single professionally produced, Billboard-topping studio album until now. See, there's this thing called a posthumous album, simply meaning a release after the death of an originator. These have been released from early orchestrators from the 1800s all the way to the famous handful of records of Tupac and Biggie after their death. Peep was on the climb to the top, and the recognition after his death gave him the boost for society to see his capability of music. The decision between his producers and family was tense, but what came out of this was raw vocals being turned into a full-scale project that was specially helped from Smokeasac. Smokeasac is a pioneer of pop-punk influenced beats. Smokeasac and producer George Astasio were granted the use of the unreleased material of Peep, which were all very raw. These raw pieces of vocals were so delicate due to the absence of Peep's say in the sessions in the studio. But if anybody were to direct the show, I would say it should be Smokeasac, who knew to the bone what Peep's vision would be for the album. According to the New York Times, he even said that he was struggling with suicidal thoughts, and the only thing keeping him in the right direction was doing justice to Peep's legacy. He said that he couldn't leave his music behind, and with Peep's influenced vision gives us a treat of an album ready to blow the industry away. An album debut single has been said to be a trailer of a movie yet to be released. It was hard to foreshadow how this album would sound, but to me there was no surprise hearing very similar dark samples as Come Over When You're Sober Part 1. Considering the first two debut singles, Cry Alone and Runaway, there's an undoubted impact and similarity of the first part that carried on to the second part. But there are two things that make this album different, which are the phenomenal samples and the likelihood for success, due to the greater following upon release compared to Come Over When You're Sober Part 1. Since Part 2 has a much higher budget, clearing samples wasn't really an issue, as we see the likes of many pop-punk bands within the album. Like stated before, this album will blow the industry away. Peep's legacy will truly live on with this album with the help of Smokeasac and producer George Astasio. Come Over When You're Sober Part 2 will be a classic for any Peep fan and will open the eyes of those yet to discover his masterpieces of new age rap. Only time will tell for the success that this album will give, but I'm looking forward to where this will lead Peep's legacy in the future. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below, and I'd like to hear you guys comment on what you think about this album. Till next time guys, peace.